that one of them has been found, and one such case is the Book of Jasher. And a lot of people further think that the Book of Jasher, since it's quoted in the Old Testament, is also inspired or sacred. We are told that the Book of Jasher was known even earlier than the siege of Jerusalem, which again was in 70 AD.
Guys, this is fascinating. Michael Heiser explains the Book of Jasher, and I'm just super excited to dive into this because I barely know anything about it. So I would love to know what he has to say, and I would love to know your comments. Let's get into it.
Now, a lot of viewers will know that the Bible is not actually one book. Rather, it's sort of a collection of books, 66 in arrangement in modern English translations. Less well known is that the biblical writers occasionally refer to other ancient books as sources for some of their own content. And many of those books have been lost.
Right. I mean, the Book of Enoch was referenced a few times in the New Testament, so I get what you're saying there.
Occasionally, rumors surface that one of them has been found, and one such case is the Book of Jasher. And that is going to be the subject of this Fringe Pop episode. Now, as I just noted, the biblical writers at times quote from sources that have been lost to time. This does happen. For instance, there is the Book of the Wars of the Lord that is referenced in the biblical book of Numbers, Numbers 21:14. Another example would be the visions of Iddo the seer. That book is referenced in 2 Chronicles 9:29.
Oh, that is crazy. I had no idea about this. Before you come at me, I've read the whole Bible before, but do I remember everything? No. This is why I'm learning from Dr. Michael Heiser, the brilliant man.
Another one, it would be the history of Nathan the prophet.
What?
That is referenced in 2 Chronicles 9:29 as well. Now, none of these works are known to scholars today. The book we're going to focus on, though, is the Book of Jasher. It is mentioned in the Old Testament books of Joshua, Joshua 10:13, and 2 Samuel, in 2 Samuel 1:18. Many people think this book has in fact been discovered and published,
Really?
translated and published so that you can read it today. That book are sold online. And a lot of people further think that the Book of Jasher, since it's quoted in the Old Testament, is also inspired or sacred. And so this book is viewed as a recovered book of the Bible that God wants us to have. That should be looked at the same level as the biblical books we've known about for a couple millennium. Now, the fact that a book by this name has been published, of course, is no guarantee that it's genuine. Fortunately, the Book of Jasher has a long publishing history that allows us to understand why scholars do not think that what is sold online is the genuine article.
Oh, shoot. So it's like one of those Billy Carson situations.
You need to take a look at that. Now, printed Hebrew editions of a book that publishers called the Book of Jasher appear as early as 1625, specifically
Wow.
a publisher in Venice. An earlier edition may have been published in Naples back in 1552, though there is some uncertainty and some controversy on that point. The Venice publisher of 1625 was Joseph Ben Samuel. Ben Samuel marketed the work by two tales of the Hebrew book's survival from antiquity, and these tales were in his preface. Now, we should say that the details of Ben Samuel's account have never been confirmed in any other account or ancient source, and that speaks loudly for the inauthenticity of the stories that he tells in his preface. But we should devote a little bit of time to sketching both tales out for viewers. The first tale in Ben Samuel's preface asserts that the Hebrew book he was publishing in 1625 was first discovered at the destruction of Jerusalem by Sidras, one of the officers of Titus. And that would place the book back to 70 AD. During the siege of Jerusalem, so the story goes, Sidras supposedly found a vessel in a secret chamber that contained books. Among those books was the Book of Jasher. There also happened to be an old man in the chamber reading some of the books, and Sidras took him as well for protection and care of the books.
I mean, didn't a lot of books, didn't they get burned up in a fire? Like, but I don't know. That wasn't in Jerusalem, though. Well, I'm sure a lot of things did get burned because of all the sieges and destructions of war.
Just wound up settling in the future in Seville, Spain, where the books were safely deposited. A copy found its way to Naples, again according to the story, sometime thereafter, and Ben Samuel was now publishing his own edition of that copy.
Wow.
Now there's a second story in Ben Samuel's preface that deals with the possible ancient origin of the book. In that second story, we are told that the Book of Jasher was known even earlier than the siege of Jerusalem, which again was in 70 AD. Supposedly, King Ptolemy II of Egypt, now we're back to the 3rd century BC, dispatched a delegation to Jerusalem to get a copy of the Torah for the Library of Alexandria. The Jewish scholars who met the delegation didn't trust Ptolemy with the Torah. After all, he was a pagan and an Egyptian. So they sent along a copy of the Book of Jasher instead. Now, Ptolemy was informed of the switch eventually, whereupon he invited 70 Jewish scholars to Alexandria to translate the Torah into Greek.
Wow. This is also fascinating. I didn't even know anything about the Book of Jasher. Did you guys? Now I'm understanding a little bit more for sure, but this is wild.
The result, according to the ancient letter of Aristeas, was the production of the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament. Ptolemy too emerged from all of this as the proud owner of both a Torah that he had translated into Greek and the Book of Jasher, which was allegedly sent to him in the first place. Now the stories sound kind of nice, but are they true? Do we have any proof of this? Now I mentioned that these two stories were used by Joseph Ben Samuel as marketing. The tales about Sidras and Ptolemy II were used to legitimate his 1625 edition. It worked pretty well. That work was printed successively in various places. And believe it or not, the authenticity of Joseph Ben Samuel's Hebrew edition of the Book of Jasher was never really challenged until the 19th century, specifically 1828. Now, the scholar who's done the most work here is Arthur Keel, and you can check out his full article on the history of the Book of Jasher on our webpage. I'm going to quote a few portions from it. He writes, "In early November of 1828, the Bristol Gazette carried a story that Philip Rose, a publisher in that city, was soon to release a remarkable volume, the Book of Jasher. The report indicated that this was the English version of an ancient Hebrew scroll discovered in Persia in the 8th century by the renowned English churchman Alcuin." Unquote. Now, Alcuin supposedly translated this book into English, the Book of Jasher in Hebrew, while having 3 years of access to the book in Persia. Keel writes as follows, quote, "Later the same month, a letter appeared in the London Courier over the signature of Moses Samuel, a Hebrew scholar of Liverpool. He too had come into possession of the Book of Jasher, the Hebrew text. It had been brought to him by a Jew from North Africa. Within days of Moses Samuel's letter in the London Courier, a lengthy and learned epistle appeared in the Berliner Nachrichten. It was, in fact, a treatise suited to a scholarly journal. The Book of Jasher was there in that article, carefully analyzed, and its origins were traced to the 12th or perhaps the 11th century AD."
But I want to know, what is the Book of Jasher even about? We're going to look this up here at the end.
It was, in all likelihood, written in Spain by a talented Hebrew. The signatory of the indignant response which appeared in the Berliner Nachrichten was none other than Leopold Zunz, the founder of modern academic Jewish studies. Unquote. Now there's something to notice here. Recall that in Joseph Ben Samuel's otherwise unwitnessed and unproven story about the history of his 1625 publication of the Book of Jasher, the Hebrew text had come to Venice, perhaps by way of Naples, from Spain. And that's the key connection. The Spanish provenance suggested by the result of the scholarly essay in the Berliner Nachrichten suggests quite strongly that Joseph ben Samuel's edition of the Book of Jasher originated in Spain and was therefore not ancient at all, Ben Samuel having fabricated an earlier ancient history for the Spanish literary creation and then used.
That's what it really seems like. People try to find these books and to exploit them and to sell them for money, and without even having any proof at all to show that it's actually a legitimate artifact or manuscript.
Those fabricated stories to market something of his own publication. Now, subsequent scholarship has also established that the English Book of Jasher being republished today, specifically the edition by Jacob Ileves, is a fabrication. It was this work that Philip Rose republished in 1828. Ileves' literary creation, the alleged ancient English translation of the Book of Jasher, was deemed a fraud from its initial publication. It bore all the marks of the doctrinal eccentricities of the Ileves family.
Wow.
That family was well known for things like denying the divinity of Jesus and the concept of divine revelation. They didn't believe in those things. And so Ileves' Book of Jasher, again his English version, rejects the divine revelation of the Torah.
Dang.
Now, Arthur Keel, again the scholar we referred to earlier, notes in his lengthy article that in Ileves' Book of Jasher, quote, Jethro emerges as the founding father of Israel's law code. It was Jethro who convokes Moses and the 70 elders on Mount Sinai, where he instructed them about the governance of Israel, unquote. Now, Ileves was actually arrested for the fraud and imprisoned 3 years. Nevertheless, his Book of Jasher in English continued to sell, and in one form or another, it continued to be republished in subsequent eras, all the way up to today. To date, then, unfortunately, there is no reason to think that any Book of Jasher one finds for sale on the internet or anywhere else is authentic, either in Hebrew or in English. At best, the Hebrew text originated in the 11th or 12th century AD and is therefore medieval. The English translation was created in 1751. The lost Book of Jasher, the real one, is still lost. Thanks for watching Fringe Pop 321. Please.
Wow, shout out to Fringe Pop 321. Go subscribe. I believe they still post on there. Well, that's so fascinating. Now I know about Jasher, and now I know that it's not genuine. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I encourage you all to seek Jesus and put him first above all else. It will be the best decision you could ever make. Thank you guys so much. I love and appreciate you all.